Welcome to the weekly close live here on the Passive Income Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Joseph, how has your week been?
Well, it is tax season in the U.S., Dave, so I'm not going to lie to you. I am drowning. But it is Friday, time for the weekly close. I'm going to go. It's going to be a good time.
Right. So right away, I guess let's just get right into it. I'll let you buy me about 15 or 20 seconds here while I pull up a share screen to get the closing numbers for the week.
I can do that. Yeah, kind of at least for me, a bit of a disappointing week this week. I know last week I rambled on for like 45 minutes of our half-hour podcast because it felt like every single company that I liked reported. Not too much really to say this week. Kind of slow. Not even much in the news. OpenAI and Elon Musk are fighting. I think the February U.S. jobs report was released today, but I have entirely missed that. I think unemployment was around like 3.9% and beat estimates. I don't know. But they're kind of continuing what we're going to get into here in just a second. We saw all-time highs again across basically all your major indexes here in the U.S. Also, rumor on the street right now is Rivian, auto EV maker Rivian wants to be bought out, and they think Apple's going to buy them, which is also kind of
Oh,
funny because Apple just canceled their Apple Car last week.
yeah, they Apple canceled the Apple Car when they realized it was going to require Windows.
You know, I've heard that so many times. I remember when like Apple announced that was the meme. I have not heard that in like 10 years though. But I mean,
Yeah, apologies to everyone that just had to sit through me saying that. Let's bring up the closing numbers. Here we go. I just have to make sure I hit. So the TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange, again, another good week. 21,337. Again, like we've been saying now ever since we started this, sort of closing in on that all-time high of just over 22,000. Moving right along to S&P 500 again, strong showing this week at over 5,123, which I believe again, like you just alluded to, hit another all-time high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, 38,722. Strong week there. Hey, guess what
very
the
strongly.
Canadian to US dollar is?
74 cents.
74 cents, right where we've been since we started this. So
We are getting 4 decimal
kind of
points
interesting.
now.
Usually over the course of 5, 6, 7 weeks, there's a little bit of a movement of like at least a penny one way or the other. But yeah, no, it's pretty much. I don't know if it's the Canadian dollar is not moving, the US dollar is not moving, or maybe they're just not moving together. I don't know. That's where the Canadian to US dollar is right now. Bitcoin, I am going to talk more about Bitcoin this week. Obviously, this prices that you see is in Canadian dollars. Uh, Bitcoin obviously never closes. So 92,754. Sorry. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna talk more about Bitcoin because obviously, it's hit all-time highs twice this week. And then just kind of moving right along, let's jump right over to the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq Composite closing this week at 16,085, and a couple more here just to touch on for the closing numbers. I do like to hit the FTSE and the Japanese exchange. So anyone in the United Kingdom, London, England, Great Britain, the FTSE closing this week at 7,659, and to our one Japanese viewer, the Nikkei at 39,688. And for fun, we'll just grab the Canadian to euro 67 cents or almost 68 cents. So those are your closing numbers for the week before we get into some of the earnings. And as you already alluded to as well, the earnings this week, not nearly as exciting as what we discussed last week. And it's doing it again. Why? Why does it do that to you?
Well, while you're doing that, I just want to say you always shout out our one Japanese viewer. Good morning. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday. It is
Yeah,
Seven.
exactly, right? That's a good call. Good morning, Japan and
It
Australia.
is 7:30 a.m. right now in Tokyo, so I hope you're doing well. Sleep in a little bit. Get an extra
Yeah,
cup of
enjoying that
coffee.
coffee while we're us over here in North America, we're living in the past, and we're just on Friday night, right?
Yeah, our one Japanese viewer, comment right now. What's the future like?
What is the future like? Yeah. Okay, well, that's a fun intro. And again, there is still things to talk about this week,
Yeah.
as we've already both alluded to. Not nearly as much as last week's closing numbers. So I guess let's get into what happened this week. Monday's numbers. Let's see if I can pull that up here quickly. Again, buy me 20 seconds while I get this tab up.
Yeah. So yeah, like Dave kind of alluded to, Bitcoin announced earnings this week, and investors loved it.
On Monday, anything interesting from Monday's reports? And what do we have here? Like companies, honestly, a whole bunch of companies I've never really heard of before open on Monday. See Global, Shipley's, Avondale. Have you even heard of any of these companies? Honestly, I think the only company on this that I've even heard of after close at the bottom there is ThreadUp, and I'll be 110% honest. The only reason I've even heard of that company is because I've randomly seen some YouTube videos where they've been the sponsor of the video, right?
See,
So
that's what I was gonna say. I only know like Stitch Fix because I've seen their YouTube ads. I don't know. I don't really know what they do. SEMrush, I know, is an online SEO platform. I believe. I want to say that's actually what we use over at Marketplace. That's the only way I've heard of them. GitLab, I pointed out a little bit in my notes here because they're down 20 cents or no, down 20% this week. They're another one of those pretty recent COVID IPOs. EPS, they are profitable, 15 cents a share actual versus 8 cents a share expected, but they are expecting really, really low demand in 2025, and investors are not excited for the future. That Someone also down in the chat right now, what does GitLab do? I heard of them this morning. I actually don't know.
okay, fair enough. Like I said, I'm not familiar with any of these companies, so honestly, I think we can just move right along to Tuesday if you're
Yeah,
okay
I'm
with that.
perfectly okay with that, Dave.
Tuesday, Neo, Target. There's a couple more that maybe we have something to talk about before open on Tuesday.
Yeah, I got both Neo and Target because Neo, if you don't know, they are another one of those EV automakers. Kind of like Rivian, they are very much an EV pure play. I'm not the biggest. I'm not in the most know about Neo as much as I am Rivian. As you all saw me like a week ago nerd out about Rivian. But I had to watch Neo because Rivian's earnings call last week was terrible. Earnings were bad, revenue was bad, outlook was bad. Neo actually didn't do that bad. EPS came in at negative 39 cents a share, actual versus negative 51 cents a share expected. And as we know, with any non profitable or not yet profitable company, an EPS beat's a pretty big deal. Also,
Right.
including one of Rivian's big problems that caused the stock to crash last week was how bad their 2024 outlook was. And this is not from Neo. This is from independent Wall Street analysts. They think full year revenue in 2024 could be as much as 31% higher than it was in 2023 for Neo, which is in right now is EV market ridiculous.
Major shout out to Teddy, the dividend dog. If you want to learn more about anything in the automotive industry, he is the person to follow. Um, he was very bullish on Neo about a year ago. I know that the last time I spoke to him, he had sold out of, I'm not sure, of all of or most of his position, but yeah, it was very interesting company, definitely for sure. Definitely look up on Twitter the Dividend Dog because he's extremely knowledgeable. Well, he works in the automotive industry, which is why he's so knowledgeable.
Huh.
But yeah, Neo, interesting company. they have a really interesting, I guess, use case of what they want to do instead of having you drive up to a charging station and charge your vehicle for 35 or 40 minutes. You just come in and swap your battery out.
Hmm.
And, that would, to me, that doesn't that make sense? Like, sort of like a gas, you're at the gas station for 5 or 10 minutes. You go in, you swap your battery out. 5 or 10 minutes, you're in and out. You're gone. That to
That
me almost seems like more logical than spending 40 minutes waiting for your car to be charged at a charging
I was
station.
gonna say that I actually did not know that. That is a very cool idea. I mean, the amount of
Right.
camaraderie and work togetherness it would take between all of your EV companies would be insane. But I mean, it's the same thing as the TV remote. I'll change the double A's in that. Why not do it with my car too?
Right. And that's the exact concept. Why you can change your battery in anything. So why not just in an electric vehicle as well? Target, we
Yep.
must have something to say about
I
Target on
I
Tuesday.
do. Target actually up about 11% this week, jumped 12% after earnings, and the market kind of melted down a little bit today. Not a whole lot. Big EPS and revenue beats. The big thing with Target is their revenue jumped from 2019 to 2022. Their 2022 revenue was about 40% higher than what it was in 2019, which for a 3-4 year period is absolutely insane. But 2022, 2023 have been kind of flat, single digit growth. Target says, though, they are re entering their growth phase. Maybe they didn't really announce many store expansions, but I guess we'll see what happens there. But they believe they can continue boosting revenues, maybe not at pandemic levels, but at least better than what they've done the last couple years. Yeah, and I mean,
Well, that was the point or question I was going to ask. Like, the years you mentioned, basically 2019 to 2023, like 2020 to 2022 and a half or to 2023, that was the COVID years, and people were staying out of retail stores, or were they making up for it with online sales? Or I'm not sure. I'm kind of throwing that out there. I'm not sure if you know the answer.
I actually, yeah, I did. I did a bit of a deep dive of it. Again, I'm going to shout it out again. The Marketplace channel earlier this week. Well, I will say at least part of that. That's when my sister moved out of our parents' house, and I guarantee her first probably 100 paychecks went to Target. So she's at least part of the problem. I don't know if she watched this or not. If you do, call me afterwards. I'll call you out to your face. Um, uh, we get along fine. No, I don't joke about my dad and now my sister too. My family and I, we're fine. But in all seriousness,
Yeah, no.
um,
People are gonna be like commenting that you need to go to family therapy or something after we're done all these episodes.
now it's kind of fun. Now, God, I've even called up my mom on this podcast. Yeah. As soon as I say something bad about my brother, we'll all go to family therapy. But either way, moving back into Target. So Target reported earnings, like we said on Tuesday. If you look at a lot of what finances, a lot of what grows Target's revenue, they are a quote unquote grocery store. But over the last few years, especially pre-pandemic, they really leaned into making most of their money from your more consumer discretionary purchases and your more home goods. So when the pandemic hit and interest rates were low, and the Target credit card is a thing, um, their online retail exploded because they had that brand name recognition, and also right before the pandemic, I'm not sure if you're familiar, Dave. They bought out Birmingham, Alabama-based firm Shipt, which is very similar to Instacart. They do like grocery delivery and stuff of that sort. So here was Target in
Okay.
2020 with their own in-house delivery service. They can get a lot of things from the store to you same day. So their online discretionary sales, whether it be TVs, jewelry, or even just appliances for around the house, exploded basically overnight.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting. I think I've probably shared with you before the massive failure that Target was when they tried to launch in Canada, but that's a totally separate story. They just weren't successful here, which honestly is a little bit odd considering how successful they are in the US. And usually, generally, not always, because Target obviously being a prime example, usually when a large U.S. company decides to come to Canada, they usually do quite well.
I mean, to be fair, we've seen it so many times with like U.S. retailers who just fail in foreign markets. I mean, look at Best Buy in China or Walmart in Germany. They put
Right.
way too much money into those markets and almost immediately pulled out.
Yeah. Interesting. Was there anything else from Tuesday that we want to discuss?
Nothing that I really wrote down. CrowdStrike, I know for fact, beat earnings. That's as much as I can tell you about them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I see
go ahead.
Nordstrom down there. Again, this whole week there was. It feels like a lot of nothing burgers. We'll jump over to Wednesday here. Um, Campbell's Soup, obviously big company. Victoria's Secret, and honestly, I think Foot Locker. Anything to say about Foot Locker there before open on Wednesday?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
The only company I wrote down, and I did not expect to have this conversation, was actually Victoria's Secret.
Okay.
Not a company I typically watch, but they were down 37% this week. Which, okay, so if you are familiar with the Victoria's Secret lore, which I was not until about an hour ago, Victoria's Secret used to be a brand owned by L Brands, who's a major corporation, kind of similar to Yum Brands, but for retail stores. And they spun off Victoria's Secret back in July of 2021, apparently. Um, and yeah, things have not been going well. This is the worst week ever for the brand. They did beat EPS slightly. They did miss revenue expectations. But the big thing that's got them really down low, tell me if you've heard me say this before on this podcast, bad outlook. According to the Victoria's Secret CEO, demand for lingerie across the U.S. has been down 4 quarters in a row, and they have no idea when it's going to recover, if it even recovers.
So you need to be buying yourself more lingerie, is what you're saying.
Well, Dave, as soon as you start paying me, I'll spend it on whatever I want.
You know what? You've got another pool behind you this week. Like, how many pools can I buy you? Right?
every passive income podcast mug that you at home buy takes me or Dave, not together, on a shopping spree to our local outlet mall.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Shout out there to buyinvestingshirts.com. Link in the description below, as you see there on the ticker symbol, as the ticker symbol's been going by. I do have to also just want to quickly say, I don't know why that is doing that when we come back from sharing the screen and it's putting you down. Because I looked into the settings the other day to see if I had hit something accidentally, and I didn't. So I don't know why that is doing that. I honestly do not know why, but it's just the way it is right now.
Ooh, Foot Locker also down 30% on the week. I just looked it up.
Right.
Beat EPS, missed EPS, beat revenue. And it's the same thing. They say demand is down and they have no idea when it's going to recover. All right. Yeah. Wow. Shocking.
And
Bad week
shout
for
out to
retail.
Laura, one of my followers, and I follow her back on Twitter. She is actually a Footlock manager, I believe, in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area. So just shout out to her, working hard at helping that company make money and be a successful company. And obviously, you go quarter to quarter with companies that, maybe they miss earnings, they beat earnings, but overall Foot Locker has been a very stable company for decades, right? So because of people like Lori, like, you've got these great employees, and the company just keeps kind of plugging along.
Jose, I've got their stock chart pulled up, and over the last year, they went public back in 2000, apparently. On February 29th of 2000, that's interesting, that their elite day. And like you said, I mean, they've seen some pretty nice jumps, but looks like the all-time high for the stock was still only about $75, and I mean they're trading around 20 now, which historically has been about the range they've been at. It looks like.
Shout out to Carl. Hi, guys. Hi, Carl. Thanks for joining us here on the Weekly Close Live.
Do appreciate you joining us.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely, for sure. Where are we getting to next? Are we jumping right along to Thursday already?
I believe so. When I told you it was a slow week, it was a slow week.
Right. So, well, actually, no. Thursday we get some interesting stuff.
We do.
Let me let me share the screen. Hold on. Let me make sure. Let me do some other stuff here. And Kroger, which I believe is Kroger like the second biggest grocery retailer in the U.S. behind Walmart.
I believe so.
Yeah, and then obviously you see Costco there after earnings on Thursday, and a few other perhaps interesting ones. I'm not sure any of these. Obviously, you must have something to say about Costco, but any of these others from Thursday that caught your eye?
So I kind of got Kroger pulled up in front of me now. Kroger actually jumped 13%. Kind of saw a pretty big beat. $1.34 actual EPS versus $1.13. Also beat revenue. They're another one of those companies. I mean, they're groceries. You kind of got to have them. And Kroger owns. If you can think of a grocery brand in the U.S., there's like an 80% chance Kroger owns it. Don't check my
Right.
math on that. That is just my out of pocket. So, I mean, they're a company. We go back to like McDonald's earnings call. McDonald's talked a lot about how they benefited from higher menu prices because of inflation. Well, Kroger benefits in a lot of ways from the same thing. When food costs more, revenue goes up.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess you could probably lump Costco into that too. Costco obviously is obviously Costco sells a lot of things, but probably mostly food, right?
Actually, here's your fun fact about Costco's earnings call. Food jumped by about a mid single. I just looked into the transcript of it this morning. Costco saw an EPS beat by about 9 cents. Revenue did miss expectations by a little more than $600 million. Let's see here. Their stock's actually down about 7% today. But what I was going to say is, if we go into sector by sector growth, grocery business saw like a 4 or 5% growth. Ancillary services, which includes like the Costco travel agency, which is a thing for some reason, grew about 2-3%. Pharmacy, though, like the pharmacy sales and the optical appointments were what really drove growth this year, with those up like 10% plus in each department.
Wow,
Um,
that's interesting.
the only actually also fun fact about Costco, the only business line that did not grow this year, or I guess in 2023, was gas stations. And they say they actually had more customers and sold more gas, but the price per gallon here in the U.S. at least was lower than it was in 2022. So they still made less money from a top line revenue perspective.
Hmm. Okay. Okay, interesting. Before we get into Friday, because I think we're already moving right along to Friday, if I'm not mistaken, right? Did you have
We
anything
are.
else to say about Thursday?
Did not.
Okay, before we get into Friday, I do want to talk about Bitcoin.
Beat EPS
Because
expectations by 9 cents a coin.
man, would you stop? Would you stop?
I feel like I kind of have to, or we're going to get targeted for disinformation.
Right. So I do have this pulled up from Coin Market Cap. So this is the very current price right now. Bitcoin is trading at $68,486 USD. And if I can just figure out how to scroll down here slightly, and you will see in the last 24 hours, it has hit an all-time high of over 70,000. So that's twice this week that Bitcoin has hit a new all-time high. Earlier this week, going over 69,000 for the first time, and now over 70,000. So interesting. And I think off the top there, when we were going through the closing numbers, I touched on Bitcoin being somewhere. It, what was it in Canadian dollars? I'm going to go back and just look at that quickly.
Unfortunately, that is not math I can do in my head. But
Yeah,
while you are,
almost 93,000 Canadian dollars. So,
yeah, I mean, We've got the next halving coming up in about a month. April 19th is the expected date of that. So I
Right.
mean, yeah, people are trying to get in now while they're getting still good.
Well, exactly, right. I have seen some interesting tweets this week. One of the best was if you bought $10,000 worth of Bitcoin 3 years ago, it would now be worth $10,000.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but I don't know. From my perspective, I'm not like a full on maxi crypto guy, but I do enjoy the crypto space and I do understand crypto. And so it is, I guess fun to watch. Historically, Bitcoin has always gone up over time. And yes, it is very volatile. After it hit that all-time high a few days ago at the 69,000 mark, it almost dropped immediately to 63,000. Like, wow, man, that's volatility. When something drops by $7,000 in the course of 2 hours or five or $6,000, like, whoa, whoa, what's going on here? Can you imagine if Nvidia or Apple or Microsoft dropped by like that percentage in literally like 3 or 4 hours? Like, people would be running for the door, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And I do kind of want to shout out also Passive Income Podcast, recent episode with Seth, Outdoor Finance. Dude got into Bitcoin at the exact right time.
Yeah.
Good. Also, I don't think I've told you this yet. Really enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Seth, at Outdoor Finance, shout out to him. Exactly. It was a great episode, great conversation. Definitely loved talking to him for sure. So, if you haven't seen that one, be sure to check it out. And yeah, let's get right into Friday. Where do I have the Friday one?
With
Here
all
we
like four
go.
companies that reported today.
Yep, yep. One of them being AQN, Algonquin Power. And before we went live, you were like, "Who are they?" And I'm like, "Well, they're a Canadian company that just over a year ago slashed their dividend." And obviously, for people like myself that held Algonquin Power, and I do still hold it, that dividend cut, they always hurt. They're never fun to go through, but you also understand that it happens for a reason. So I know that after I mentioned it to you before we started recording, or before we went live. I'm sure you typed that into your
I
search
did.
engine. So what did you come up with?
Let's see here. AQN down about 43% over the last 5 years, with
Yep.
almost all of that crash coming in August of last year. Or no, August of 2022, which I'm guessing is around when they cut the dividend.
Uh, they they didn't cut the dividend till I think it was either December of 22 or January of 23, but that was sort of more the timing. So after that, what you're talking about there in August, yeah.
Today I learned. Actually, they slightly beat EPS, 16 cents a share actual over 15 cents a share expected. Let's see here. They're up in Q4, worried about renewable sales. Revenue, they did miss revenue. I'm scrolling headlines right now, so please
Yeah.
excuse me, everyone listening at home.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, actually I had a headline there as well that we were kind of both looking for info on AQN before we went live. And I think I'm probably I'll just quickly here. Algonquin Power and Utilities Company reported a profit in its latest quarter compared with a loss a year earlier, as its revenue fell 11 cents per share. The company, which keeps its books in US dollars, reported a profit attributable to shareholders of US 186.3 million or 27 cents per share for the quarter ended December 31st. Is that similar to what you're seeing? I'm reading this from yahoofinance.ca.
Let's see. I am on currently Benzinga, and yeah, that's near word for word what I've got here too.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Anything else there from Friday that caught your eye, or anything else to say about AQN?
Not really. No, Fridays are always like super slow, so it's hard to say.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I can't believe we plowed through this whole week this quickly. We've set a new record for the number of viewers right now on the Weekly Close Live. Actually, we've smashed the record. I see how
Oh, good.
many people are watching. Can you see how many people are watching as well right now?
I cannot.
Okay, would you like to take a guess at how many people it's showing that are watching right now?
I'm going to
Because I
assume we
feel
broke.
really bad about ending this episode like like literally about 10 minutes earlier than usual with this many people here.
Well, I mean,
Take a guess.
if you want to keep going, we can talk the Reddit's IPO. That's going to be a fun one later this month.
Yeah, sure, go for it. What do you think
Uh,
about that?
all I'm gonna not financial advice, but I'm not buying it. Yeah, Reddit is going to be IPOing a little later this month, which is going to be kind of fun. First real social media IPO we've seen in a while. I'm
Right.
trying to think who even the last one may have been. Did
Yeah, I'm
MySpace
not
ever go
sure. Like,
public? I don't think they did. No, they did not. They were always private. But yeah, so I don't know. I look at that company and I see a lot of risk factors, but I'm also hearing a lot of people buy in. I know they also should be going public, I think around like 30 some odd a share. But kind of what I wanted to say is they are going to be one of the biggest IPOs in US history with a valuation, I think, north of $5 billion.
wow.
So they've been a unicorn for a little bit now. So I'm trying to find it. I had it written down. I want to say they're going to go live around like 30 is expected to go live around 30 cents a share.
Oh, when you said 30, I thought you were
Or
talking. I thought you were meant $30.
I meant to say $30. That is what I meant to say.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
or
$30 a share.
$6.5 billion valuation is what they're going public at. Reddit, being a Y Combinator alum, also their whole history is kind of fun. If you ever get a chance to deep dive into the founding of Reddit, highly, highly recommend it.
Okay, interesting. So I'm just going to give you my quick opinion of IPOs. And again, not financial advice, but my personal quick opinion is leave the IPO for the other guy, right? Because what tends to happen with an IPO, it comes out at, let's say, that $30 a share, and then the day traders drive it up to $35, $40 a share. And then the day traders cash out because they're like, hey, we've just made $10 a share in like the first 3 hours. And then all of a sudden it's like at $18 a share, and you're left holding the bag because you're thinking like a long-term investment. And so let's just say that, because I've seen this movie before where those are almost the exact numbers, right? Where $30 up to 40 down to 18, all in the course of sometimes even just the first day, sometimes the second day, but and then all of a sudden you're left holding the bag at 18 going, well, geez, now I just hope that some days it goes back up to 30 so I break even.
Which by the way, kind of clarify a few of my points. We have a date, March 21st is when trading will start on. I think it's RDDT will be the ticker. It's going to be priced between $31 and $34 a share.
Wow. So again, that's just my quick and personal opinion about IPOs, and not Reddit. That's my opinion on all IPOs, right? Like all IPOs, I've seen it happen so many times. They come
Oh
in
no,
hot, the day traders run it up, and then once the day traders decide they've made their money, they're out, and the stock generally falls after that first day or two. So that's just again
no, I'm
my 2 cents worth.
I'm right there with you. I'm especially with a lot of the COVID IPOs we've seen. Once again, I'm going to say Fiverr shareholders. I hope you have fun crying yourself to sleep tonight.
I think you made that same comment last week.
I'll make it every single week. That company should have never been publicly traded, in my opinion.
Right.
But
The
yeah,
company itself is a great concept, right? You can go online, you can find somebody to do pretty
oh
much
yeah,
anything for you.
which AI is now going to be a major threat to their business model. But we'll talk
Yes.
about that when Fiverr reports earnings, and I think fairly coming up. I don't remember the exact date, but I think it's coming up. But I was going to say my overall opinion with IPOs is let's give it 3 or 5 years, then we'll look at investing.
Right. So with that said, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you can listen to and see Joseph's reaction when Fiverr does report.
When Fiverr slips on earnings yet again, like
Right.
just go ahead. Let's type the headline. Let's get it ready to go.
Interesting. I do want to just give a quick shout out here. You can see it scrolling below. Receive a free Passive Income Posse. Turn that cash register around. Coffee mug with any purchase over 100 Canadian dollars before taxes and shipping at buyinvestingshirts.com. Use code word Posse for 5% discount on your purchase. Link in the description. Joseph, how much is 100 Canadian dollars?
74 American. So go get your American discount.
Exactly. That's what I always tell to you guys. Come to Canada, you get an automatic, like we just give you this like 25% discount on everything, right? Just for showing up.
Well then, how would you explain the yen then? Like, wouldn't we be better just to go to Japan then?
Yeah, that I don't know.
Well,
I
let's
don't
see.
know here's the thing
What?
is like I know the cost of living in Canada compared to the US is very similar. So
Mhm.
quite often if something costs 10 bucks in the US, it also costs 10 bucks in Canada, but you're spending 7 US dollars when you come here. So you for a lot of things, obviously you kind of have to watch prices and sort of
Oh
be a
yeah.
little bit educated, but at the same time, for a lot of things, you are literally saving that 25%, right?
Okay, yeah, I think that may skew my yen argument, but one USD is 147 yen right now.
Okay. But yeah,
Yeah.
again, I don't think either of us really know the cost of living in Japan or how it compares to pricing in Canada and
that
the US.
that one Japanese viewer, help us out. You're relevant again. Hello.
Hello, we might have more than one Japanese viewer. You never did guess how many viewers we're up to.
Oh
Definitely
yeah.
a record here, an all-time high on the weekly close live.
Give me give me an over under.
50.
Oh, okay. Oh, over 50.
We're just shy. We're showing
Uh
47 viewers right now
hey, that's
here on the
still
weekly close live, but we just got to get this up to 1,000 every week, and then I really will be buying Joseph a pool.
I very much could use a pool. It's a necessity.
Well, yeah, it must get hot down there, down south, right?
So some people feed their kids. I buy a pool. That's just how it works.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, this has been another amazing week. Great chatting with you. I can't believe we have to cut it off with this many people here. I do honestly feel bad about that, but honestly, we've went through the whole week. We've talked about the companies that were interesting this week. We've even talked about what's coming up here soon. We've touched on the whole Bitcoin hitting that all-time high twice this week. So really, I don't have anything more to say. Do you have anything more to say?
No, I kind of fumbled my way through Reddit's IPO. That's all I got.
That's all we got. So, really, really appreciate everyone who has clicked that button and clicked that thumbnail and showed up here this week. We really, really hope you come back next Friday. We're here every single Friday on the weekly close live here on the Passive Income Podcast every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, next week it will be Eastern Daylight Time, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, don't remind me. I'm not ready for that. I hate the time changes.
Yeah, they're tough for sure. So, yeah. So thank you so much for everyone. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Please be sure to come back next Friday and enjoy another episode of the Weekly Close Live. Be sure to check out all the links in the description below. And with that said, we will see you again soon.
Yep, see you next week.